Wealth is a Choice podcast. Boom.
Let's listen to it. Let's listen to it.
All right, Scott.
This is a great opportunity. I'm really looking forward to the time we have together.
Yeah, me too. Well, I've enjoyed all the time we've had together biking.
Sure.
And this is the first time I've seen you not in a biking setting, not up in the UP.
Right. It's this is kind of home base for me.
Yeah.
Live 5 minutes away.
Okay.
And this is where we come to church every Sunday, and
Okay.
where I'm a part of the praise team, playing my guitar and
really?
doing some singing. Yeah.
All right. 30 seconds in, I already learned something new. I might ask you to pull that guitar out up in the UP sometime.
All right.
I think we're trying to add more music to it. There's actually a group in Marquette. So I was in Marquette about a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I went to Black Rock's Brewery, and they have open, it's not open mic per se, I don't think. I think it's somewhat organized, but local musicians there. And there's one, and the only reason I remember her name is she's thinking about going to Asheville, and her name is Ashley. If she weren't thinking to go to Asheville, I don't know if I remember it. Ashley or Ashlyn? Oh, shoot. Yeah. I'm not sure. But I'm going to go back up in July and talk with Ashley or Ashlyn about maybe putting together a little rhythm for TDY.
Oh, that'd be great.
I know.
Marquette's one of the places where I really enjoy being. It seems like the area where we can have dinner and kind of conversation is a great one, and it's a great town to get into, and that's one of my favorite areas.
Getting over the hump slows the ride down.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that, it's only like 114 miles. It's technically a very short day.
Yeah, for TDY.
For TDY, but we got to get over the hump.
Right.
And getting over the hump, as you know, is a challenge in itself, and it just takes a little bit longer.
It does, yeah.
But it's pretty cool.
It is.
So speaking of getting over the hump in hills, what year was that when you did Ramsey? You did get up Ramsey. What year was that?
That was 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you impressed the hell out of me that year, and I've been learning things from you ever since then. Not as much as what you tell me, although you do give feedback and you do ask questions sometimes, but just watching you and seeing how you interact with people and what you do. But anyways, Ramsey Hill, I didn't bike that day. I was doing SAG, and I was about halfway up the hill taking video and pictures, and you're coming up from the bottom. And I started yelling some stuff to cheer you on that I thought was going to be very motivating. I think I was telling you to do it for your family and stuff. I don't know. And you were pedaling, and all of a sudden you just went sideways over the bike, and your legs were cramping up. That's a tough day because we're exposed to the elements. There's a lot of heat. We're leaving the Great Lakes, so you don't have the lake effect, coolness, and all that stuff.
And it's about 120 miles into it as well.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's a good day into it. And but you went up the hill. It's too steep for you to jump on and start riding again. Right. You started walking up the hill. And then later on, I found out that you got a car ride in. I think you only had like 4 miles to go.
Yeah. Yep.
And afterwards, and so 2021, the event started in 2018. I didn't have that many years into it. The event was really still becoming. I wasn't sure what this was going to evolve into. But when you get all 10 stages done, you earn the right to wear the plaid jersey. So that's our buckle. It doesn't matter how long it takes for somebody to finish. Everybody earns it when they're riding the 10th stage. Right. And I didn't have anybody yet not finish a day and ask me for the plaid jersey. And so I heard you got a ride. I'm like, okay, I haven't had this. We're new into the organization. I haven't had that many experiences. But do I give Scott, do I talk to him? Do I even have the conversation about it that it wasn't finished, even though it's 4 freaking miles, like you're there, or not? And I was wondering what to do. And then you didn't want the plaid jersey. Right. So you didn't even put me in that predicament. And then you came back the following year and you rode the entire day to complete those last 4 miles, and then you earned your plaid.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, in my view, to get the plaid jersey, you needed to complete all 10 stages.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't complete it.
Okay.
I was 4 miles short, and 4 miles might be a small percentage, but it's not complete.
Okay.
And so I was just, in my head, it was like, okay, I got to come back and I got to do that whole stage to complete all 10.
Okay.
And it was one of those things that it never crossed my mind to haggle with you, if you will.
Yeah.
Is this good enough? It wasn't about the jersey. It was about the goal I had set of completing all 10 stages. Yeah, there's a reward at the end of the jersey, or the end of the 10th with the jersey. But for me, it was a lot about completing the goal that I had set out to achieve.
Yeah. You just mentioned on something. The jersey is my reward to you, but you said you set out to achieve this goal.
Right.
There's a difference in that.
There is a difference, yeah. And the jersey is wonderful, and it's a nice expression, in the years to follow that yes, I've done all 10, but the goal that I set for myself was to complete all 10 stages, and whether I got the jersey or not, it was going to be what I needed to do, and that's probably the way that I've thought about many things. Is that I need to set a goal, I commit to that goal, and that commitment is going to be unwavering. And it's a commitment that I made for those 10 stages. It was a commitment I made to become an Eagle Scout. It was a commitment I made to be a valedictorian in high school and to get the grades that I got. It was a commitment to get into veterinary school. It was a commitment to get into graduate school and do that at the same time as veterinary school. A commitment in my marriage that, through thick and thin, I'm gonna stay committed to one person and be committed regardless of what happens.
And anybody that's been married for a long time knows there's a lot of opportunity to get out.
Absolutely.
That's just a reality of life, man.
It is. And
love you to death, Chris. And she would say the same thing. She could have said bye-bye lots of times, I'm sure. It is a commitment.
Yeah. And we're all imperfect.
Yeah.
And yet those commitments are things that I hold very dear and very special.
Yeah.
And even though I fail, I'm going to go back and keep at it again.
Yeah.
And that was that particular one. I was going to make it through that stage one way or another and complete it all the way.
Yeah. To the level that you were seeking.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've seen that characteristic or that character in you numerous times since that one single day.
Yeah.
And I know this is something that is deep within you. I can tell. I hadn't asked you about it. Like, I want to talk to you on a podcast. I know this is in there. I'm really curious how that develops and where that comes from, and where you mentioned some examples, but where you've done that through your life, where that shines through.
Yeah. It kind of started with my parents, and most people, a lot of their character does have some origins in their parents. But my mother nearly died when I was 4 years old. And she it was a kind of an asthma that became very, very serious to where she could not walk up a flight of steps. She could not make dinner. My dad couldn't cook, so we had cold hot dogs and baked beans.
Okay.
For
He
lots,
really couldn't
lots of
cook.
meals. He had a hard time boiling water.
Okay.
But my mother worked through all of that, and I won't go into all the details of her illness, but
At 4, you're old enough to remember this too.
at 4, I'm old enough to know that she was not well at all, and
Okay.
it was a commitment that it actually started with my dad, because my mother's doctor thought that it would be better for us to live in Arizona. At the time, we lived in Indiana.
Okay.
They thought the dry weather in Arizona would be better, so my mother and I moved to Arizona for 3 months. And then my father had just started a new job, his dream job. He was willing to quit that dream job and go out to Arizona and figure out what was next if it turned out that my mother was better out there.
Yep.
It turned out the dust in Arizona was worse than the humidity in Indiana. So we moved back.
Okay.
But that commitment started with my dad and his idea that the commitment to family was most important.
Okay.
But then it continued on with my mother, where she worked hard to get better through medicines and through, lung treatments and so forth. And ultimately, she became a marketing director for a local bank, and then vice president of that bank, and then the first woman president of the Indiana Bank Marketing Association. She had a drive and a desire to achieve.
Okay.
That drive, I think, is now hardwired in me because of maybe it's genetics, but it's certainly part of the environment that I grew up in. So all of that led me to be committed to goals.
Okay.
And those goals, again, started out being goals in school, goals in Boy Scouts, goals in college, career goals. But it's then transcended into goals in life, goals in how to help others. And one of my mother's phrases that she was really fond of was make a difference in other people's lives.
Okay.
So that's what I've been trying to do. My wife and I have sheltered kids in our homes for a while, and we've opened our homes to kids that need things like that.
Do you have a memory or an example of where your mom not only said that but carried that through, or where you saw her doing that?
Yeah. After she retired, she then decided she was going to raise and train therapy dogs.
Okay.
And she trained dogs, and in fact, the dog that was 120 pounds, a giant schnoodle.
Okay, I don't even know what schnoodle is.
And it
sounds like a
cross between a schnauzer and a giant poodle or standard poodle.
Okay, all right.
Giant schnauzer, standard poodle. 120 pounds, fluffy. It was a wonderful dog. But the people that were training her to train the therapy dog said, that's crazy. You should never try to do that. And she said, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. And she did it. And then she would go to nursing homes and so forth or hospitals with this 120-pound fluff ball.
Okay.
And that was really fun for her, but she was making a difference in people's lives.
Yep.
She wrote a book when she was 80 years old, first book she'd ever written.
No
and she
kidding.
wrote it about training the therapy dog. And so even after she passed away shortly thereafter, that book has been something that people have used either as illustrations of training or illustrations of how a biblical principle or a parable translated into her training Reggie, the therapy dog.
Okay. Yeah. I love it that she wrote that book at 80.
Yeah.
There's this gentleman, Dan Poynter. He's kind of the godfather of self-published authors. Mm-hmm. And I don't see his name as much anymore. Back in 2008, the guy was everywhere. But anyways, one of his sayings I love is don't die with a book still inside you.
Oh, yeah.
I love that saying.
Yeah.
And I think that can apply to a lot more than just writing too. Don't die with whatever still inside you.
That's right.
But anyways, I love it that she wrote that book at 80.
Yeah. And one of the things that motivates me as well is I want to do as much as I can, as well as I can with what God's given me. And there's a passage in the Bible, 1 Corinthians 10:31, that says, whether you eat or you drink, or whatever you eat or drink, whatever you do, do it all to the glory of God. Mm-hmm. So I don't do things for my own glory intentionally. I do it because these are the gifts God's given me. Mm-hmm. And if I don't use them well and exercise them to the best of my ability, I'm actually not doing what God has wanted me to do with what he's given me.
And what would be wrong with that?
Well, I think it's one of those things where God has a purpose in your life. Okay. And he equips you by who you are, what you know, what you can do, what you learn. And that is always for a purpose that he has in mind for you. Okay. And I'm retired now. There's still a purpose in my life. My purpose is not to just sort of sit back and, just coast. Yeah. I have things that I want to do and things that I believe God has positioned me to do. I'll give you an example. As I said, I play guitar at our church. I'm probably the oldest electric guitar player in the church service in the area at 67.
Okay.
But one of my goals is to train the kids of the future, or who are the future, so that they can take over when I can't. I was involved for a number of years with leading our youth praise team. An old guy, 50 or 60 years old, leading a youth praise team, but I wanted to help them learn how to play their instruments and play together, not just jam on their own. That's one of the things I believe God has prepared me for, is doing that sort of thing and preparing the future generation. And so now, even as we're doing things like Vacation Bible School coming up, I'm leading the singing and so forth for the kids, but we've got a 17-year-old kid who's going to be playing with me. And the goal is, when I'm dead and buried, somebody else will be there to do the same thing. And that's, leaving that, I'm not going to say leave a legacy, but it's prepare the next generation. That's kind of what I think I'm doing now in my retirement. Okay.
I'd like to do something real quick on this subject. I hope you don't mind.
No.
Can you say that passage again, and I'm going to just do something to it for other people might hear it differently.
Yeah, it's 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31, and it says, whatever you eat or drink, or whatever you do, do it to the glory of God.
Okay. So not everybody that listens goes to church or worships God, God or Jesus, or reads the Bible. One thing that I've noticed is if you use the word love, then sometimes people that don't go to church or read the Bible, they hear what's being said in that message.
Okay.
So now, just if you don't mind, if we could say it again, and instead of saying God, say love.
Okay. Whatever you eat or drink or whatever you do it for love.
Yeah. It's an interesting little word change that I've noticed for people that don't read the Bible, go to church, and they can dismiss a passage and not hear the beautiful message that's being said sometimes because they just don't associate it.
Yeah.
And I've noticed if you interject it with the word love, the passage fits beautifully still, and then that other group of people might hear it.
And the other thing that I think is useful is to, instead of saying in whatever you do, is to say, Scott, whatever I eat or drink or whatever I do, I will do it to the glory of God.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. You mentioned something earlier before we started recording also about your mother, that she was determined to get healthy.
She was, yeah.
Yeah, so there was you mentioned two things. One is do good for others, and the second was that she was determined to succeed. I don't remember exactly how you said it.
Yeah. She was an overcomer.
Okay.
And she had the desire to overcome whatever obstacles were in the way. In fact, there's a song that Mandisa recorded a number of years ago that we played in the video of her during her funeral, which is called Overcomer.
Okay.
And it really epitomizes my mother's desire to overcome her physical limitations and continue to get better. She walked every day. 80 years old, she would walk 3 or 4 miles a day, typically with Reggie, the dog.
Okay.
But for an 80-year-old to walk 3 or 4 miles a day with a 120-pound dog, that's pretty impressive.
It's very impressive. Yeah. She did a good job training that to be a service dog.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people at 80 or 70 wouldn't want to be connected to a cord of a 120-pound animal.
Right. It's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her drive to overcome, and you remember that as a young child, that she was determined to get better.
Yeah, she was. It was a slow process. It was a process of years. Mm-hmm. And so overcoming didn't mean being well, the next month. It meant moving from 4 breathing treatments to 3. Mm-hmm. It meant moving from 1 injection every 4 days to 1 every 8 days.
Okay.
Those little wins, if you will.
Okay.
It's a little like riding Tour Da Yoop. 120 miles can be pretty daunting.
Yeah, it can be.
But if you take it and say, I'm going to ride the next 5 miles. I'm going to get to the next whatever place it is. You chunk it down into achievable steps. I remember Rachel Sherwin saying, just one more pedal stroke, just one more pedal stroke.
Yeah.
Just keep pedaling. Those little things help you get to the long-term outcome.
Yeah.
And there's a phrase that I used a lot of times with, at work when people would be really overcome with, how are we going to get this thing accomplished? And that was, you eat the cow one hamburger at a time.
Okay.
And just eat one hamburger, then the next hamburger. And ultimately, you get there.
Yeah. So your mom, there were people that sounds like they expected that she might pass away at a young age.
Yes.
And it was a very real possibility.
Yeah.
How do you think she was able to look past that and see healing as her destiny, and not what would have been the more reasonably easy likely route that people probably thought at that time when you're in the midst of something horrible. It's easy to see the negative outcome.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I haven't really thought about it that way, but I guess the first thing I would say is that my mother had, well, I'm an only child.
Okay.
As I think one of the things that she had a miscarriage right at the time she started getting ill.
Okay.
So she could not have children after me. So I think she was had the feeling of, I want to see Scott's next, whatever it was.
Okay.
I want to see my family do this. And she had these little goals for herself of why she wanted to fight.
Okay.
And the fight was because I don't think she felt that she was done.
Okay.
She felt like God had something else for her. And she had a desire to not only do those things for herself, but to see her family take their next steps along the way as well.
Okay. Have you ever read the book Man's Search for Meaning?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember, it's about 2/3 of the way through the book, and he reveals what he discovered in the concentration camps.
Yeah.
He could tell when somebody was going to die that day, basically. And what he realized, the meaning is that when you lose something that you love or some meaning beyond yourself, then they were going to pass.
Yeah.
And when people hung on to some meaning and some love other than themselves, then they survived.
And interestingly enough, I've seen that in my mother-in-law. My father-in-law passed away about 5 months ago. Her life revolved around him, particularly the last year, as he needed 24/7 care, and she was going to be that person.
Okay.
When he passed away, my wife and I both were concerned. What was she going to do? There was going to be this void of caring for people. In the assisted living facility that she's in now, she has developed a set of friends who need her.
Okay.
She has her mental faculties there more than many of the people who are there. And so she is caring for the people there, particularly 2 or 3. And even as she was visiting us, she was like, I wonder how so-and-so is doing. I need to go back and make sure that she's okay. So to your point, she has found some other place to extend her care and extend her focus and her purpose, her mission in life beyond herself.
Okay.
So I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. So we rode again a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to bring that one up. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know. Maybe I was feeling nostalgic, but 2018, the first year I did the ride, as I was mapping the route out, I'm trying to get from town to town in a reasonable manner.
Right.
And the first year I didn't know every road in the UP, if you can believe it or not. I know a lot of them now. I didn't know every road. And so John Creedler and I rode the stage from Grand Marais to the Sioux together. And Lisa Graziano joined us just west of Tequamanon Falls.
Okay.
So John and I rode together from Grand Marais, and my route took us on gravel. All right, gravel's not, it won't be too, can't be too bad. But it's sandy gravel. So John and I, roughed through that pretty good together. It was a long day we had, but we had brought mountain bikes, and then we swapped out for our road bikes, and we picked up Lisa Graziano. Yeah. So I wanted to ride that section again. It's been years since the first ride, and Andy, Andy, he rode that section the year before. No, earlier that week. Yeah, that's right. Andy was double looping.
He was
us.
double looping.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So just a few days earlier, he rode that section. He told me how amazing it was. Well, Andy's a whole nother breed. We know that.
Yes, he is.
So I'm like, good. I was like, how sandy was it? He said, it wasn't too bad. I'm like, oh, wow. It must have gotten cleaned up from the time I did it. That's cool. So how many of us? There's Andy, there's Blackburn, Owen, you, and me. There's 5 of us out of the whole group that decided to do the alt gravel section instead of the paved way to get there.
And I thought I was ready because I had my gravel bike.
You did have your gravel bike. We all had little gravel tires on it, but we could have used a fat tire on it.
We could have, yeah.
But that goes down as my favorite ride of that tour, spending that time with you. It was very difficult, but we had a blast back there.
Yeah.
And you didn't need to prove anything. You weren't earning your plaid.
Nope.
Like, you didn't need to prove anything. You could have backed out any time you wanted to.
Yeah.
Eller was with us in a car. You
Yeah.
could have jumped in that car, but you didn't. And I had a blast riding that day with you.
It was one of the most memorable days I've had.
Okay.
Whether I had a blast or not,
Okay.
because as we were getting closer to the Sioux, I was hurling chunks.
Yeah.
In the back, I'd get to the back of the line, and I'd let go a few things so that I would arrive a little lighter.
Yeah.
And I got done, and my wife looked at me and she said, "You look terrible."
Yeah. Well, the gravel had took a little bit out.
It had.
And then once you run a deficit, it's really hard to get it back,
It is.
especially because you're not resting, you're still riding.
Right.
And so it's hard to get that back.
But I had a blast during the time.
Yeah.
And I think one of the funny things is that you're probably not going to tell the story, but I wiped out in the middle of the sand.
Yeah.
And I think in slow motion, I laid out and just hit,
it was very
my
graceful.
back.
Yeah.
And so for the rest of the ride, Blackburn called me Sandman.
Yeah, you were half dirt.
Yeah, I was Sandman. So, it was
Sand
okay.
sticks to sweat.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I remember about that one was how your sons saw something that occurred, and we were really worried about that, and calling the state police and them coming in to see what was going on. That was actually the part that I never know what the outcome of that was.
Yeah.
But it was a little unnerving.
Yeah.
Because somebody was in distress, and we were riding past it.
Yeah.
And thank goodness that your kids were wise enough to call the state police, and they were on the.
They're
there quick.
Yeah.
So that was the good part.
Yeah. That is a mystery. We don't know what happened. Yeah. There was a young lady that passed away, and she was found in Lake Michigan, and so we don't know. She was missing for a number of days, and we don't know if she left Lake Michigan and went somewhere else for a while, or if at all. We don't know what happened. Right. But it was a real rarity, and it was a
Yeah. So it was a very eventful day.
Yeah.
One that was full of emotion because of that.
Yeah.
But also one that was it was physically demanding. You're right. The sand took a lot out of everybody, me, I think, as much as anybody. But that was also one of those where I'm going to get through it. I'm going to get done. I do this ride. I do it because I want to, I set the goal of doing that one specifically, and going through the gravel, and it was beautiful.
It was
beautiful.
It's remote back there. Yeah.
So I'll remember it. I may not remember it as fondly as you do.
Yeah.
but
you brought it up. So anyways, we're not too far from the Sioux, and we climbed this hill coming out of, I don't remember the name of the town, Brimley.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So we climbed the hill coming out of Brimley, and we stopped on the side. We can see catching up. And we're at the top. Wade, we figured you want to take a break by the time you get to the top, and so we're sitting there on our bikes, ready to take a little rest with you, and then you're chugging along, and you said, we're like, you need a break. You're like, no, I'm going. I just puked 3 times. I'm good. And we looked at each other like, what the hell? And we're like, all right. And you were flying by, so we jumped on your train and off we went.
Yeah, it was at that point. I could see the end.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I notice when I'm achieving goals is that as I get close to the end, my energy picks up. That's probably not unusual for people.
Yeah.
But for me, my energy picks up. My drive picks up because I can see that major goal in the end. And it was like, I don't slow me down now.
Yeah,
Let me keep going.
Yeah. So I started running a number of years ago. And I would run with this group in a local town, Birmingham. We'd do these loops in and out of the town of Birmingham. So we'd meet at a coffee shop. We'd do a loop. We'd finish at the coffee shop, have a little coffee. Yeah. And these guys were phenomenal runners. Phenomenal. Like they win the races, and just super fast. And so for me to keep up with them was extremely difficult. And so I would normally get lost a little bit. There's always a guy or two that would run with me because they were teaching me how to run. I was pretty new at it. Yeah. And they were just training. So they're not even trying to like I was in a race and they're just doing their train, Yeah. So anyways, one of the things I noticed about them is every time we'd head east on Lincoln Road. It connects to Woodward, which goes at an angle. And then we'd take the side of Woodward into Birmingham. So we're only like 3/4 of a mile at the most to our finish by the time we take that angle. And so we get to Woodward at a parking lot, small parking lot. And Woodward's at an angle. So it's not a 90-degree turn. It's like this. Mm-hmm. And none of those runners ever ran through the parking lot. They all did, not even this 90-degree angle. They did this, I don't know what it would be. What's more than 90? It was 160 degrees or something, And none of them. And it would be like a 30-foot cut. And trust me, I wanted to take that 30 feet out because I was dogging it by the time we got there. But not a single one of them would ever cut those 30 feet off. They'd always go around that. And I think about that quite often, that there's so many ways to take a shortcut in life. And they never do, and they're phenomenal runners. Anyways, that's something that I always saw in you as well, and through our riding experiences. And I would have to imagine that's part of your life.
Yeah, I think it probably is. There's achievements that you go through, and it may have started with Boy Scouting. You get merit badges, and you've got to get a certain number of merit badges to get this rank and this rank and this rank. And the merit badges were important. They were skills that sometimes I even think about now, and they were, well, as I sort of mentioned, small steps toward the big goal.
Okay.
But not cutting the corner on any of them. You can't just put the paper in and get the merit badge. You have to do the work.
Okay.
And I think that's a part of what's built in me as well, is that you got to do the work. You got to finish it. And even at work, in my job developing medicines for animals, you have to submit these enormous dossiers of data on how the product is supposed to work, how it does work, what are the results, and so forth. You can't cut corners with the regulatory agency. They want to see everything. And so that's sort of, again, gone into my personal life, is that I'm going to I'm going to do the work necessary and not cut a corner, in part because those guys who were training, they didn't cut a corner because they knew they were training. And if they cut 30 feet off there, they weren't actually training to the extent they were intending to.
Right.
And their goal of training is to is to run the race and do their best. Yep. If they cut off, if they shortchange the training, they're not going to excel at the race.
Right.
So there's a reason for that, I think.
Yeah. I've learned a lot from you over these years that I've known you, and it's not because of what you've told me, because you do give me some advice sometimes, but it's not often that you give me advice, and you're welcome to give me advice a lot if you'd like to. What I've learned is watching you, how you engage with others, your compassion you have for the families and the people that we help, the genuine compassion that you have for these children and the families. So I've learned by watching you, but I've also learned by the questions that you ask me. So you oftentimes, you could probably elaborate more and tell me something, but you ask me very pointed, thoughtful questions, and it provokes thinking and contemplation internally. And you often don't follow it up with, here's why I'm asking the question, but it's through my answer and your responses and your second question that's usually the answer.
Well, I think it's, I learned when I was in the workforce and I had some leadership positions that if I said something, it colored what everybody else was going to say subsequently.
Okay.
As a leader, if I'm, the head of a department and I say X, people in the department are probably not going to say anything other than X because they want to line up, behind the leader.
Okay.
So if I really want to hear what people think, I've got to let them speak first.
Okay.
And oftentimes I learn something, and maybe what I thought was X because of what they've said turns out to be something different. Maybe I don't have all the information.
Okay.
So I learn from what somebody says by the questions I ask, and that, first of all, I get the unfiltered answer of what they're really thinking. But secondly, it helps me understand where they're coming from, what some of the limitations they have are, maybe some of the barriers or some of the reasons they've gone that way, and it changes my thinking as well. So that's one of the reasons I do that. I want to be sure that I get somebody's honest, unfiltered opinion, because I typically provide fairly direct feedback to people when the time comes.
Okay.
But I don't want that to influence what I hear from them.
Okay. Yeah, it's powerful. It helps. I mean, like I said, I've learned a lot from it. I get a lot out of it.
There are some things that I've been able to see from other tours, for example, and provide feedback that way. But oftentimes there's a reason why you're doing it a certain way that I don't know about. And I come in with that naive understanding, and if I start spouting off what I think is the way it ought to be, I very often am wrong.
Okay.
Unless I really know what's motivating somebody.
Okay. Yeah, we're pretty easy to jump in and give our 2 cents without asking. Yeah.
And I found that with my wife as well. If I jump in and say something to her, oftentimes I'm shutting down what's really there that I need to know about. Yep. That influences our relationship, much more deeply than if I'm just going to say, well, here's what I think. Yep. So learning that, learning what the other person is thinking, how they're thinking, what's the reason behind it. I think it goes a long way to helping us understand how the relationship really works. Okay. And how we should plug into that and provide our feedback.
Yeah. You can tell that you appreciate people and their uniqueness in the diversity that there is with a group of people. Yeah. Does that come from anywhere, or do you recall some experiences where you learned to see people's differences and to embrace them?
Yeah, it's a good question. If you had asked me that 25 or seen me 25 years ago, you might have a different opinion.
Okay.
Because I learned a lot from my early experience in the workforce, and I saw that even in academia with assistant professors who always thought they had the answers, and a full professor who would kind of say, I've seen that before, and I there may be something else behind that.
Yep.
So I've learned that different people have different personalities, and I need to approach people differently depending upon what that personality is.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example from my workforce days. There was a man that worked for me that simply didn't understand how I communicated and couldn't get the actions that I wanted executed into his head.
Okay.
That's not something that happens very often. I'm usually viewed as being very direct, very clear, but he didn't quite get it.
Okay.
And so I'd tell him, here's what I want done, and he would go off and come back, and it would be done differently. And I'd say, here's what I said I wanted done, and he would say, well, no, that's not what I thought you said.
Okay.
So I got to the point where I would say, here's what I think you need to do. Then I would stop and I would say, okay, you tell me what you think you heard. And I would understand then what he heard.
Yep.
And many times it was, no, that's not exactly what I was looking for. Let's try it again.
Okay.
And I tried again. And ultimately he would understand what I was trying to say.
Yep.
And I've drawn it into more of like a broadcast kind of a analogy. There's a transmission and a reception.
Okay.
And you can do all the transmitting you want, but if the receiver isn't on the same frequency,
Yep.
you're not going to make that connection of the communication. So I have to learn that it's not just about my transmission.
Okay.
It's about, are they wired to the same frequency, if you will,
Okay.
so that we actually do communicate.
Yep.
And I found that to be really helpful in my interaction with people, because I can get frustrated with people that don't really understand what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And if I just sort of back off and say, okay, it's not them, because they have a different frequency. I have to change what I'm transmitting.
Okay.
That really helps with the communication.
Okay.
And while it's a broadcast radio kind of a analogy, it works so well in interacting with people because, to be honest, we all have different frequencies.
Yep.
And that's what makes life kind of fun, is that everybody has a different frequency. And until you recognize what frequency somebody else is on, then you can adjust your own transmission to their frequency. They're not going to know to change their frequency. That's not their responsibility. It's the responsibility of the transmitter.
Okay.
To change their frequency.
All right. So I think that's a huge insight into what makes you kind of special and can work with people. So you could go to somebody and you could say, now repeat to me what I said, and wanting them to understand what you're saying. And that would be the most logical way that we would go about trying to get two people on the same page.
Yeah.
You adjust to what I'm saying, repeat it back to me word for word. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as you lay that out, because in the beginning when you start, I'm thinking in my head, a lot of people could really mess this up, and just cause a fight,
Yeah.
Repeat it back to me. What did I tell you to do? And it's extremely negative.
Yeah.
And as you're explaining it, you're explaining it perfectly. It's not about me. It's not about them hearing what I'm saying. It's about, am I communicating with how they hear?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a totally different approach, and that's not offensive.
Right.
If I'm asking somebody to repeat it, I'm asking them to repeat it because I want to understand you more than you understand me.
And one of the ways I do that,
And that's not offensive.
yeah, and there's two ways that I found to do that. One is to say, tell me what I said in your own words.
Yep.
The other one is to explain things in 2 or 3 different ways.
Okay.
So if I want them to do something, it's like, okay, here's what I want you to do. Now I'm going to tell you about it differently, and
Yep.
I'm going to essentially explain it in a different fashion. So they hear 2 very different sets of words
Yep.
that are still intended to do for the same outcome. And then when they come back and they say it in their own words and it's aligned, then we're in good shape. And then the other thing I do is I go back and I check, how you doing? Or do you still recall what what are you trying to accomplish? What's the goal? So I go back and check periodically on how they're doing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I can't change what somebody else does. I can change what I do.
Yep.
And then when you figure that part out, then all of a sudden communication becomes a lot less about why don't you do something different and more about why don't I do something different, because I want to communicate with them.
Yep. All right, that makes perfect sense. I'm glad you elaborated on it. Yeah. Let's see what else I want to ask you about. And I feel like I got to take a minute and elaborate a little bit on that day with that lady. That's kind of in my mind.
Yeah.
And I don't want to dismiss it because somebody passed away that morning. That was a weird thing. And Eller's here, and I know that was a really weird event, Eller, but
Yeah.
I feel like I should say a little bit more about it. This young lady went missing. She's from Manistee. People don't go missing very often.
Right.
It was over in the Gulliver area. And we didn't know it at the time, but there was a search going on.
Right.
And so we were on our way to the Sioux. We ended up in Manistee 3 days later. And she went missing that morning that we were riding our bikes to the Sioux. About a week later, they found her over in Beaver Island in Lake Michigan. So she had floated across the lake, but it was, I don't know if it was a week later or even longer, but there was a really big search going on for a long time. And Eller, it's one of these mysteries, man. He responded to something that he saw. We don't know if that was her. We don't know if that was innocent. We don't know, but he saw something that didn't look right, and he acted on it, which that's what you got to do. And like you said, the police were there and they looked. Yeah. Sometimes in life, we're just never going to know.
That's right. And I think the lesson for me in that is if you see something that doesn't look right, you need to tell somebody.
Call it out.
Call it out. There's so many times in life that we see something that doesn't seem right, and you let it go, and maybe it was right to let it go, but in many instances you need to take the action and do something about it. And that's, to me, that shows that you raised your boys right.
Okay.
To say something about that when it just didn't look right, and it was a little unnerving.
Yeah.
And my wife was driving along as well by herself.
Yep.
And when she heard all that, she was a little unnerved with that.
Yep.
We even talked about that the last couple of days, how it sort of, well, it made her uneasy, if you will.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing just to recognize wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
If you see something doesn't look right, you need to take an action.
Yeah.
Even if it's being too careful, if you will.
Yeah.
If it's a false alarm, better to have a false alarm than not.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. There's too many videos you see pop up sometimes where there was some guy that got caught in an escalator the other day, and he ended up passing. The jacket tightened up around his neck, and he couldn't breathe. And people walked by him, and he was laying there, and I guess nobody knew.
Yeah.
They didn't help. They didn't step in. That guy didn't need to pass away.
Wow.
Anyways, it happens so easy that we
does.
don't step in and say something because we don't know what if it's right, what if it's not right, what if it's real,
Right.
what if they're faking it, what if it's whatever, and you just gotta step up.
You got to say it. You got to
Yeah.
say something. Yep.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to let that one go. The poor young lady did pass away. Maybe she drowned in the lake that morning somehow, going for a swim.
Yeah.
Or we won't know.
We don't know, but we know that Eller took the right step.
Yep.
And the state police were there to take a look and so
Yep.
forth, and that was the right thing to do.
Yep. Yeah, good. All right. Well, so during the ride, we are supported and we support.
Yeah.
And that's a theme and a mantra that's developed over the years. And you've supported and you've been supported.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
It is. It's one of the unique things about the Tour Da Yoop that I haven't seen nearly as much in other rides. Whether it's because of the size of the other rides or just the way they're organized, but this one is different.
Yeah.
And it's different, I think, first of all, because it was consciously at one point moved to be different in this way.
Yep.
I think it's also different because most of us need support in some fashion or other doing 120 miles a day for 10 days.
Yep.
We just have to have that support. And when you've got 50 people that are riding and you've got 25 that are riding all 10 days, you develop a rapport and a camaraderie that is unique, it's powerful, and it's something that I've never seen before in any other sporting event or series. And that's really important. And there's a guy, Zach Smith is one of the guys that that really manifests that to me.
Yep.
When we were riding and Rachel Sherwin was riding, and I'll never forget her bicycle and how ill prepared she was to do 120 miles a day, but how determined she was to do it.
Yep.
And it was going to take an escort for her.
Yeah.
And that was something that Zach and myself and a few others did on a rotating basis. And Zach's phrase that he took from his Air Force training was, "Never leave your wingman."
Right.
And so we didn't leave Rachel during that time. The next year, when I was doing all 10, there were a couple of days that I needed some support myself, and there was Zach.
Yep.
He wasn't going to leave his wingman.
Yep.
And he was going to support me through that whole time. And I think that's been a theme and a culture that the Tour Da Yoop has developed over time. And I've seen it grow from 2020, which was, I think, my first ride of 3 days.
Okay.
Through then, the rest of the years that I've gone, is that theme of never leave your wingman, support. We're going to support everybody along the way. It's been one of the reasons I keep coming back.
Yeah. It's a success to how we should be in life.
No question.
It's what makes, we all need help once in a while.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
For those that, jump on welfare or something like that, we all need welfare once in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all need help.
Yeah, we do.
And no matter how strong we are, sometimes we all need help, and hopefully we all give help.
Right.
But that's what makes the world works, and that's what makes it a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And it is showcased right there with those people that show up. For some reason, a really cool mindset person shows up to this event, and then it's that type of humanity is fostered through the event. It's just a beautiful thing.
Well, and I think the what I'll call the intensity of Tour Da Yoop, 10 days, 120 miles a day, it sort of evokes a need at one time or another for everybody.
Yeah.
That, I need somebody to kind of give me some encouragement. Whether it's on day 9 when you're thinking, it's all mental at that point. It's not physical, it's all mental. I got to get back on the bicycle. My butt hurts.
Yeah.
Do I have to do this again? Yeah. You have to, you get to, and you get to with these guys, and we're going to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
It may hurt the first 10 or 15 miles, but then we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
It may be like myself, where, after about 80 or 90 miles, that one day was like, oh boy, I got to get through it. Or maybe Rachel, who's just thinking one pedal stroke, one more pedal stroke, one more pedal. That was her mantra. Just keep pedaling.
Yeah.
Just keep pedaling. Just one more mile. Just one more mile.
Yep.
Those kind of encouragements along the way. There's very few that ride Tour Da Yoop that don't need that kind of encouragement somewhere in that 10-day period of time.
Yep. So interestingly with Rachel is during that period where she's getting support, she was completely appreciative and felt that she was getting all of the love and support. She didn't understand, she probably does now, that she gave way more than she got.
Oh, her determination was enormous, and was a reason why many of us felt like we could keep going as well.
Yeah,
she just had a way about her, and an optimism, an enthusiasm, a joy, if you will.
Yep.
That is very rare.
Yeah,
and that was a good part of that ride for sure.
Do you remember the Copper Harbor Loop? Her fiance Neil shows up, and I think he thought, God love Neil, he's a wonderful man. I think he thought he was going to show up and help his fiance through day 5. Yeah. And so Shane rode with her the first half. I don't know if other people did as well. Got to the top of Brockway Mountain, and then Neil and Rachel rode the rest of the way back. And I think it was just the two of them that day. I'm not sure. But anyways, she pulled Neil all the way to the end. That guy got his ass whooped by riding a bike that day, and he looked at Rachel like, holy cow, I had no idea. I think he thought he was going to show up and pull Rachel along, and
the knight in shining armor.
Didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
He stayed in the car the rest of the time. No, it was
10:17, by the way.
What's that?
It's 10:17.
Awesome. Scott, I've got one more question for you, but is there anything else you want to mention that I haven't asked you want to bring up?
I think the only thing I'll say is that my faith is a critical part of my life. It's why I'm wired the way I am. It's God gave me these gifts. He prepared me these ways. He brought me here for this reason. And everything I do, I intend to do to His glory. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but we know that with the help of God, we can get through and overcome anything, whether it's adversity in a family or whether it's a health. Even if it's a terminal illness, getting over it or overcoming it doesn't mean solving it. It means getting through it with grace and dignity. And that's perhaps what I'd like to share is that for me, I can't do that myself. I can only do it because of the power God gives me and the grace He gives me to do that.
Oh, you, Scott, and your wife Kathy are beautiful people. You're a real blessing to get to know and to be in the tour. Thanks for all your support, and it's a joy to ride a bike with you, and it's a joy to see you up there and engaging with everybody and the families and the kids and everything.
I'll look forward to it. As long as we can do it, we hope to be continuing to do it in some fashion.
Amazing to see you up there, both of you up there, and Kathy too.
Thanks.
So the last question that I have is, the name of this podcast is
Wealth is a choice. Boom.
And wealth means a lot of things. Right. It can mean money. It can mean faith. It can mean love. It can mean family, community, athleticism, health, all kinds of stuff to different people. Yeah. But I like to ask people at the end, do you think that wealth is a choice?
I do. And I think that the way I think of wealth isn't about happiness. It isn't about financial security. It isn't about any of those things. I think of wealth largely as I think about contentment. We are all in a particular situation. It doesn't mean that we should be satisfied with where we are. I think you can probably tell from how we've talked that I have goals. I wanted to achieve. I wanted to do things, to excel. But I'm but I feel like being content wherever we are at the time is a part of wealth, an important part of wealth. Discontentment is something I really try to shy away from.
Okay.
I try to be content, not complacent. I put those things very separate.
Okay.
But contentment is something I strive for in whatever situation I'm in. But I don't intend to be complacent with where I am. I intend to find ways to grow, to be more, well, like a better term, more Christ-like in what I do.
Okay.
But I want to be content in the situation I'm in. And I believe that the choice for us to think of wealth as a choice, I think of wealth as a way to be content.
Okay.
And contentment is, for some people, is very hard to find. I know very discontented people.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to be unhappy. They tend to be hard to deal with and so forth. But I find content people, not complacent people, but content people.
You can still strive for something different, something more, if you want to use the
can
word
still strive
more.
for more, but to
Yep.
be content
Yeah.
that this is where you need to be.
Yep.
This is where you're supposed to be. This is where you can contribute to society.
Yep.
That contentment is a lot for me about wealth.
That's a lot of happier place to live.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah. Well, I learned a lot from you. I have ever since day one, and I continue to. I learned a lot today. I love the listening story that I learned from you today, and I'm not exactly sure what I will do with that and how many ways in my life that's going to unfold, but I'm going to keep that in there because we always hear about active listening, and it's so easy to think, are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Not am I understanding you? That's a total flip.
It is. It is absolutely.
And I'm going to keep that in my head, and I'm going to keep that in there as I'm engaging with people and see what I do with that.
I'm sure
That's a big one.
I'm sure you'll find that it opens some doors for you that you might not have had open before.
Yeah, beyond just listening. That's a big one. Yeah. It's not centered around me. It's awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks, Scott. Love you, man. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being here today, buddy.
I look forward to riding again this summer.
I do too.
All right.
All right, cool.
Thanks.